Hi guys, it's me, Mr. Bertosh, your incredibly handsome science teacher. In this video, we're going to be talking about F2L. The most common advanced method used for solving a Rubik's Cube is known as CFOP, which is CFOP. And the C stands for cross, the white cross. F stands for F2L, first two layers. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. First two layers and what that means and how to approach learning to do F2L and some advice and some tips on how to improve and how to practice. When you began your journey as a speed cuber, you almost certainly learned how to start by solving with a white cross on the bottom of your cube. If you learned with me, then you definitely learn that way because that's how I teach it. And that's how 99.999% of everybody solves. There is another method that you can use, but most people start with a cross on the bottom of their cube. And in beginner's method, you then learned how to do the bottom layer, the four white corners, after you did the white cross, which gave you a completely solved bottom layer. And then you went and solved the second layer. And then finally the last layer. So in beginner's method, you solved each of these three layers individually. And that's a good way to start, but it involves some extra moves. And anytime you have extra moves or turns, every time you turn the cube, that's going to slow you down. No matter how good you are, no matter how efficient you are at turning the cube, okay, or turning the sides of a cube or front or back or what, top or bottom or whatever, every time you have to turn it, even if your hands are super duper quick, it's still going to slow you down because that takes time. So whatever we can do to reduce the number of turns that you have to do to solve the cube, obviously, that's going to increase your time. So what we do as amazing fast speed cubers is that we combine the bottom layer and the second layer into one layer, because then we're not just solving the bottom layer and then the second layer, but we're solving these two as though they were one layer, and that gives us a lot less turns that we have to do. And with less turns, then, well, your time's going to go up. Okay, so you need to think of, with F2L, first two layers, you need to think of these two layers as though they are one layer. And notice you've kind of already done that with the white cross, because if you've done the white cross correctly, you've got the centers already matched to the edge piece of the white cross. So I've got the red part of the white cross and the red center already matched, and the blue edge piece and blue center and the orange and orange center. So I've already done these middle pieces and edge pieces of both layers as though they were one layer. All I have to do now is complete this by doing the four slots. Each one of these we refer to as a slot. So this would be the orange. Well, that's not actually orange, is it? This would be the green and orange slot. Okay, and then the orange and blue slot, the blue and red slot, and then what's left then is the red and orange slot. So I need to get the pieces into each of these slots at the same time. So in beginner's method, I would have put the red and green and white corner piece right here, and then I would have done the other 3 corner pieces, and then I would have come back and done the edge piece, the green and red edge piece, and all the other edge pieces. But in advanced method and with CFOP, F2L, first 2 layers, I'm going to do the red and green and white corner piece and the red and green edge piece in the same move. I'm going to plunk them into this slot at the same time, and that's going to give me, in a couple of moves and way less moves, this entire slot solved at the same time. Okay, and then I'll go on to another one until I've got all 4 slots solved. And then when I have all 4 slots solved, it will work out that I have the bottom 2 layers. And then all I have to do is OLL and PLL for the top, or in other words, the top layer. And then the top layer is done. So when I'm doing F2L as the handsome science teacher that I am, I like to just start with whichever one I can find, because again, anything that slows you down is, well, it's going to slow you down. Gosh, that's like all surprising and stuff. Anything that takes time is going to slow you down. So if you're hunting and hunting, you're like, white piece, where are you? Or you're looking for the exact one you want, it's going to slow you down. So I just start with the first one I find and go with it. Okay, so which was the way I was holding it when we were talking a second ago is right here, was this piece. Before we talk about how to insert the pieces into their slots, first I want to talk for just a minute about the difference between intuitively solving F2L versus remembering or rememberifying or remembering how to do them using algorithms. Because here's the deal. There are 41 different configurations that you're going to run into as you look at edge pieces, white edge pieces and their associated, white corner pieces and their associated edge piece, and how to get them together and then get them into that slot. So there's 41 different ways that they might be set up. And there are algorithms for those that you can look up and spend a lot of time memorizing. Or alternatively, you can just kind of play with the cube and figure out your own algorithms and do what is called solving it intuitively. I highly encourage you to do it intuitively rather than to spend 27 years or a few months memorizing 41 different algorithms. And here's why. Okay, you're going to get a lot of benefit from, you're going to learn how your cube works a lot better from playing with it and seeing how the pieces move. So solving intuitively, it means that you don't memorize the algorithms, and you can't really do that with OLL and PLL. I mean, maybe you could, but it would be very frustrating and take a long time. But with F2L, it's an opportunity, because it's a lot easier to figure out, to learn how the cube works, to get in your head how the pieces move around the cube. Okay, and you're going to start, as you do this intuitively, with probably some pretty, I mean, let's be honest, okay, some pretty bad ways of getting the pieces in the slot, but that's okay, because I promise you, as you play around with the cube over several weeks, you're going to find better and better ways to do it. And you're not even going to mean to. You're not even going to be trying to. So you're just going to be moving them, and then you're going to accidentally do something. You'll be like, oh, that's like 3 moves shorter than the way I was doing it. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not, because that's what happens when you spend a lot of time doing something. So, and then the other thing is then you understand how the pieces move, and later on you're going to be able to combine things and see problems and solve them, just because you'll understand, if I need to get this piece from here to here, this is how I can do it. So highly encourage you to learn to do F2L intuitively, meaning moving the pieces yourself and just shifting the cube around and turning and until you get it, rather than memorizing 41 algorithms. You'll be a better solver, you'll be a faster solver, and the cube will make more sense to you. I am going to teach you some fundamental concepts that you need to know. And solving intuitively, really, to start with, is built on 2 basic ideas, 2 ways to insert the pieces into a slot. Now, there are a lot of other ways to insert pieces into the slots, and you'll figure those out on your own. And I'm not going to tell you all those ways, because that's not helpful, and that would take a long time. And then we're basically getting into algorithms again. You're going to get into using my algorithms that my own brain has figured out. But I am going to give you 2 basic ideas to help you get started with your intuitive solving. When you learned beginner's method, you learned a lot of muscle memory and some basic concepts that are actually going to help you now quite a bit as you do F2L. So the 2 ways to insert 2 pieces at the same time into this slot, into a slot, I should say, in this case, the red slot and the green slot, depend on where and how those pieces are oriented up here on the top. And I've set this up, this cube up, so that I can show you both of these methods. So the first way of inserting 2 pieces at the same time into a slot is when they are already together, like as they are here. So in my red and green slot, I need to have the red, green, I know my colors, and white corner piece. Corner pieces have 3 sides, and the matching red and green edge piece, I need to have them together inserted here. Well, I've set it up so that they're already that way. So I have the red, green, see, really, look, I do know my pieces. Red, green, and white, my colors, corner piece, and red and green edge piece. I have them together right here. Whenever they're together, super duper easy to insert them. Okay, so I'm going to do this kind of slow, and I just kind of want you to watch. And if you get confused or confusified or confusionated, you can pause the video and go back and rewatch it. Okay, remember, I can turn the top wherever I want, right? And it's not going to mess up anything in the bottom 2 layers, first 2 layers. So I'm going to put them so that they are just off to the side of where I want them. Okay, so I've got white over here away from the slot. And all I have to do is lift this other side up. I'm doing this side because if I do this side, I'm going to mess them up. I'm going to break them apart. Okay, turning that side breaks the 2 pieces. I want to keep them together. So I'm turning this side up. Okay, I brought the white part of my cross, the edge piece that matches, I brought it up to the facing me. Then all I have to do is push. So I'm going to do U prime, which pushes the pieces over so that they match with my white cross, my white center, or I mean my white edge piece. And then I just turn it back down. Okay, and that put the pieces into the slot. So see, that was very easy. So I just go back, then push it over and go down, and I have them in the slot. Super de-duper easy. So when they are together like that, then all I have to do is insert them that way. So another scenario that you're going to see, and this also you've learned from beginner's method, although you don't realize it yet, probably, is when the pieces are not together, like in this case. So I've got the orange, the green, and the white corner piece. And on the other side over here, I've got the orange and green edge piece. I can insert these into the green and orange slot just like you did in beginner's method. So remember from beginner's method, I'm going to find my white corner pieces, get them into the top layer with white on the side. Then I'm going to match the other color that's opposite white, so in this case green, right, to the green center, just like you do in beginner's method. And then just like in beginner's method, I'm going to go back, forward, down, and notice it combined them and plopped them in the slot as I did that. Because what I did was I set it up beforehand so that this piece was right where I needed it when I go back, forward, down, like I do in beginner's method. See, because I've got the piece right here, whatever piece is right here is going to be combined with this piece when I put it down here the way you do in beginner's method. So if I set it up so that the piece is back here that I need, before I go back, forward, down, then it's going to grab them and put them together and insert them into the slot, just like that. There are a heckins of a lot of other ways to insert pieces into the slots, and that's okay. You don't need to know them right now. Right now, with what I just showed you, you now have the knowledge you need, although you're going to have to practice before it really sinks in, but you have the knowledge that you need to get all scenarios solved. Well, most. I'm going to show you one more thing you need to know, one more thing you need to think about. But using those two methods of inserting, you can get pretty much everything, not pretty much, you can get everything into each of the slots with F2L. So let's talk for just a minute about frustration as you practice and having a growth mindset. It's okay to be frustrated with this, just like you have been in other aspects of solving the cube and other aspects of life. Whenever you do something hard, you do something new, it can be frustrating and your frustration level can rise. And you can be like, I'm never going to do this. I quit. And you're going to throw your cube across the room and stomp out. And that will be sad. Plus, you will damage the wall and break your nice cube. So don't do that. Instead, take a deep breath and just tell yourself you're going to get it. And you're going to get it surprisingly fast, actually. You'll be amazed because one day it'll be frustrating and then the next will be like, oh my goodness, this makes sense. But you won't be very good at it, but you'll be doing it. And then a week or two will go by and you'll get really good at solving, or maybe a month or two. And that's okay, depending on how much you practice. And we all go at our own pace. But you will, for realsies, you will get much better at solving the F2L by just sticking with it and not giving up. So now I want to show you one more thing that you need to know to get the pieces positioned so that you can insert them that way, because you're not always going to find them. In fact, you're almost never going to find them set up the way I just showed you. They're not going to be either together or separated appropriately so that you can insert them that way. So you have to set that up before you can insert them into the slot. And I'm going to show you that now, like the handsome person that I am. So I'm not going to show you all 41 configurations because that would just take too long. But I want to show you a couple of things to guide you as you work to get the pieces together the way you need them, either side by side or opposite each other, so that you can insert them in one move down into the correct slot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do what I have here on the cube, which I actually did not set up. It's just the way it is, but it's a good example. Okay, a couple things to remember. I already have 2 slots solved. We did these earlier in this video. Okay, so the red and green slot and the green and orange slot are already solved. So whatever I do in order to get these 2 slots solved, I need to make sure that I do not mess up the 2 that are already solved. Otherwise, I'm just, being counterproductive. So keep these slots in mind so that you don't mess them up. Okay, I cannot, so this is red, blue, and white, and back here over here, red and blue, and I can't go back, forward, down because, well, I can, but see, it's not going to solve it correctly because that piece is backwards in this case, and that doesn't help. So I need to do something with this piece to get it somewhere else, either flip it or get it over here next to this one so that I can insert them together at the same time. So this is the part where you kind of have to think a little bit. You're like, how am I going to, how, pray tell, am I going to get this piece either flipped or over here so that I can insert them together? I've got 2 empty slots to work with, so I can turn my cube this way or this way without messing up. I can't go this way because if I do that, I'm going to mess up this back slot, and I can't go this way because I'm going to mess up this back slot. So I got to think about what I have and what my options are. Okay, in this situation, I go this way or this way. Well, if I take this piece right here, this corner piece, and I turn it just once so that the white is now facing me, I can put it down, and when I put it down, I'm popping this slot up, and that doesn't matter because this one's not solved yet. Actually, this is the one I'm solving right now, as a matter of fact. So I can put that one up, and I can turn this around wherever I want, and I'm not messing up these 2 solved slots, okay? And I'm not affecting the one that I'm trying to solve right now. So I'm just turning it around. If I set it down right here, right next to where I'm going to bring the piece back up, and then I turn this back down to the bottom, okay, so now I've restored my white cross. Well, look, that put them together, okay? And then I could just go back over there, and I've got the 2 pieces magically together. So, again, I'm going to redo it to show you what that looked like. Okay, so I just reset this up the way it was. See? Exactly the way it was, so they're still wrong. Okay, all I did, so I've got the corner piece right here. I've got the blue matched up to its blue center, just like in beginner's method. I pushed it away one time so that the white is now facing me, and then I took that, so I went F prime to put that piece down at the bottom so that I can get it out of the way and turn the top. Now I can turn the top wherever I want, but I just put the red and blue edge piece here on the side of where this piece is, just right next to it. And then I just bring it back up, and they are combined. And now I can do the method that you've already learned to insert it into the slot where it belongs, and that leaves me now just one piece. And actually, no, I was going to say that's the same situation, but it isn't. This is another good example, okay? So this piece, this corner piece, orange, blue, and white, is set up actually slightly differently, okay? Because the piece I need now is over here. It's the orange and blue edge piece is in a completely useless place, okay? Because look, I've got my orange matching the orange center, and if I go back, forward, down, the one I'm gonna grab is this one, the blue and yellow edge piece. It's gonna grab that one and put it in the slot. And that is not helpful at all. I need to grab this one, and I need it oriented the right way. Well, how am I going to move it? Okay, now I have all 3 of the other slots solved, and I don't want to mess them up. But I can do the same thing I did before. So if I just turn this piece to the side 1 turn, so white is facing me, okay, and then I put it down to the bottom, it's going to put this unsolved slot, up at the top. Okay, and now I can turn this however I want without messing anything up, because the one I popped up is my unsolved slot. Everything else is protected. Okay, so I'm going to put my orange, and I'm not going to put it here like I did last time because they don't match. See, if I put them here, if I put it there, then I've got the 2 colors don't match. And so it's backwards. I mean, they match, but this piece is flipped the wrong way. So that's not going to be helpful. So instead, I'm going to go to the opposite side right there. Okay, so I went opposite this piece, and then I flip it back up, and then go back so that my corner piece matches my centerpiece. And now look, I have it set up the way that I need it. I have it over here so that when I go back, forward, down, it inserts it, and now I have the entire bottom solved as one layer. One of the more frustrating aspects of starting F2L is how much it slows you down, because if you've been doing beginner's method for any amount of time, you probably got your time down to under a minute, your total solve time. And this is going to put you back quite a bit. It might put you back at first to like 4 or 5 minutes as you are hunting and trying to think through and remember and get the pieces together and then insert them in a single move. And that's frustrating. It's really frustrating because it looks cool to solve it in under a minute, and it doesn't look so cool to solve it in 4 or 5 minutes, and nobody's impressed by that. And when you're doing beginner's method and your fingers are flying all over, you feel fancy. You feel fanciful. So, however, you're never going to get your times sub 30, sub 20, sub 10 if you use beginner's method. So it is important that you move beyond beginner's method. So you just need to give yourself permission to let go and slow down for a little while. The more you practice, though, you're going to find your times increase again and again and come up faster and faster and faster until you surpass where you were in beginner's method. But that is going to take some time, but it's worth it. Okay. Give yourself permission to go slow at first. And I mean like really slow. Okay. And you're not even racing at first, because at first you just want to get the concepts in your head. You want to take time to think about and see and problem solve. Remember, you first have to get the pieces in either together or opposite so that you can insert them, and then you do the move to insert them. And that's really what F2L is all about. Now, as I said a few minutes ago, there are a lot of other ways to insert pieces into the slots besides those 2. I'm going to talk about some of those in later videos, such as learning the various positions of the sexy move, using sledgehammer, and some other things. And you're going to figure a lot of this out on your own anyway as you play around with the cue. But for now, to get you started, you have everything you need to do intuitive F2L without having to memorize any algorithms. Just go to town and play and practice, and you, my friend, are going to be an F2L master in a matter of weeks. But weeks really, it's not going to be a matter of hours. Okay, it really is going to be a matter of weeks. If you want to show off to people how amazing you are, you can do beginner's method every once in a while to solve and impress them. But really, the bulk of your practice, like 99% of your solves, should be now doing the white cross intuitively and F2L intuitively. This really isn't very important, but it helps me because I am old and have a slow mind. So I personally like to think of these, I give names to the pieces because when I'm hunting, when I'm doing F2L and I'm looking for pieces that match, as you're trying to match them up, I have to find the, this piece and the piece that goes with it, right? The red, blue, and white corner piece and the red and blue edge piece that go together. Well, my brain doesn't remember red and blue very well. And so I'm up here hunting, I'm like, red and blue, where are you? And then I'm like, wait a minute. What piece was I looking for? And I forget. So what I do is I name the pieces based on their colors. And you don't have to do this, but I find it helpful. You can name the pieces anything you want. I name them. Red is apple. I think a blue is water. So I combine them. The red and the blue would be apple juice. Okay. And I think of the green as plants. So I combine those. So the red and green, I call apple tree. So I have apple juice because it's got the water in the apple, and apple tree because it's got the plant in the apple. And so when I'm hunting, I'm like, instead of thinking red, blue, I'm thinking apple juice. Okay, well, I do the same thing on the other side. With orange, I think of it as, this will shock you, as an orange. Okay, so I've got orange tree because it's plant and orange juice. And that's all 4 slots, right? Because I've got apple juice, orange tree, apple tree. So as I'm hunting for the pieces, I can be thinking apple tree. And I personally just remember that way, way better than going, wait, was it red and green I was looking for, or was it red and blue that I was looking for? Okay, that helps me to remember the pieces as I hunt for them so that I can move them and combine them and insert them into the slot at the same time. Well, hello. Thank you for watching my one-take rambling science video where I talk a lot and try to do as few and usually no edits whatsoever. So you hear all my ums and my awkward pauses as I try to collect my thoughts into my head. If you like learning about science, do me a favor. I have classes that I teach over on outschool.com, and you can find out about these classes by going to my website, which is Handsome Science Teacher, because look at this face, handsomescienceteacher.com, where you can sign up and get access to not only these videos, because you already have access to those, right? They're free, but also access to packets that go along with them and live conferences with me, where I teach you and grade your work and we learn together. I have an entire science curriculum from 5th through 8th grade science. Also, you are welcome to, if you would like to subscribe to my channel. That helps me too, just because it gets the word out about me.